This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 for 2025. Finally, things have updated, just like with the Fold 7 that we already reviewed. This is not the same old phone as last year with just a little CPU refresh. For example, the outer display is now significantly larger. The aspect ratio is more normal. Battery life is improved. Other good things. We're going to look at it now. So the Z Flip 7 gets a 4.1-inch outer display, AMOLED display, versus 3.4-inch last year. And as you can see, the display does not have a weird cutout anymore. So you've got it running underneath the cameras, much like the Moto Razr. In some ways here we are catching up with the competition, surprisingly, considering Samsung should lead this category given the fact they've been doing it, well, longer than anybody else, right? Anyway, that's good to see. The drawback is if you want functionality on the outer display besides the curated widgets that Samsung provides, you have to go to the Labs section of settings and download and install GoodLock, which is free, and then you can put apps on the little outer display if you wish to do so. It should just be a default that it can do that by now. I don't know why Samsung doesn't. Moto Razr has that, for example. Anyway, at least it's something you can deal with software. You are stuck with the Samsung Flex keyboard, which normally I don't hate the keyboard, but it doesn't do voice typing. So if you want to voice type with the closed phone, sorry. The inner display is now closer to a normal aspect ratio. Before it was 22:9, now it's 21:9. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, to compare, is 19.5:9. So it's not quite as elongated, which is nice, and it's 6.9 inches now. It's big, and it doesn't feel as much like you're looking at a ribbon kind of thing. So well done there, and that is Super AMOLED 2X display, as they call it, and it is 2600 nits of brightness, 120 hertz refresh rate, 2520 by 1080 resolution, so full HD plus resolution. It's a nice display, and it gets bright enough now that you don't notice the built-in screen protector that it comes with. It usually picks up fingerprints, and you notice the glare and stuff like that, so it helps mitigate that. It's a nice looking display, not going to complain. It is thinner than last year's. Now, looking at the Fold 7, which is so absurdly thin, you might think, why is this thing still not that skinny, other than the fact that it would feel disconcerting, like breakable, you know. Some people already feel that about the Fold 7 now. It's 6.4 millimeters. The old outgoing one was 6.9. So this is as thin as the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Edge, which is their thin Galaxy. So it is a thin enough phone. I'm not going to ask for more, especially because they need room for stuff. Like the battery. The battery has 300 milliamp more capacity than it did last year, so 4,300 milliamp hour capacity. And we've got the Samsung Exynos 2500 CPU inside, 3 nanometer process, just like cutting edge, like the latest Qualcomm CPUs. And it used to be for years ago, people would say, oh, Exynos, not as fast. So I'm not going to complain. I don't think anybody else is either, because this is a more power efficient CPU. It's a good choice, because Flips used to get kind of warm and then they would throttle and you wouldn't see the performance you wanted. And this really helps with battery life, which is excellent, and temperatures. It doesn't get too hot to touch, and thermal throttling isn't an issue anymore, so performance-wise. So this one will go like a day and a half on a charge with light to moderate use, which is really quite good, especially for foldable where they're constrained. Think of it this way, the Fold bigger phone only has 4,400 milliamps, so not much more battery power, and a more hungry CPU. That CPU scores on Geekbench 6 multi-core, in between the outgoing Flip 6 with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and the Fold 7, for example, with the Snapdragon 8 Elite CPU. So it sits right in between the number that you're seeing there. That's good. Good enough, honestly. And surprisingly, Samsung DeX is finally here. You have to use it with an external display, but that's something they've never had in the phone before, probably because of heat concerns and throttling concerns previously. So that's well done. The hinge is supposed to be 29% smaller or less bulky as well, so it's well done as a package. And the bezels are 68% smaller, making them the smallest bezels on a foldable phone. Anyway, it makes it look modern and nice and like, ooh, you want it sort of thing, even if it's, again, not as much of so many things change as with the Fold 7. One thing that did not change is the cameras. You still have the same 50 megapixel f1.8 main shooter and a ultra wide angle 12 megapixel with f2.2. They can shoot 4K video. So that's pretty much the same hardware as last year, and they're falling behind, you know, and we could do better here. Low light, not the best. I mean, most people who are average everyday snappers, you're going to like the cameras just fine. Other than still missing a telephoto. That third lens, you could look at this as like a Galaxy S25 Plus that folds for only $100 more money, but no, that one gets you at least a telephoto lens. You still don't have that here, and that's not just important for getting closer to things that are far away. It makes for more natural looking, less distorted portraits where people's noses don't look immense and stuff like that. So I really want to see Samsung do something about that. The front camera is fine, 10 megapixel, f2.2. Par for the course. Other goodies include Bluetooth 5.4, Wi-Fi 7, you have 5G millimeter wave as well as sub-6 onboard NFC, fingerprint scanner, and facial recognition for unlocking as well. Also, here is the fact that a lot of the times with the Flip, it's one thing that gets old, is it tells you to open the screen to continue doing something, more so than the Fold does. And honestly, I don't know why Samsung keeps gimping the outer display. I'm going to say it one more time. So sometimes, like, you want to change the settings for the outer display. Wouldn't you think you should be able to do that on the outer display? It says, no, if you want to add more app support or something like that, in addition to the ones you've already added, you have to open up the phone. Good news on software, Android 16. That's the latest, greatest, One UI 8. It's a good software overlay there, and you get 7 years of software updates. So that's a lot of years, especially for a folding phone. This is supposed to be more durable. Every year they say this, and obviously one of the things people worry about with folding phones is they are more likely to break. I have had pretty good luck with them not breaking, but it does happen, so keep that in mind. Samsung does sell insurance if you are worried about such things, other than warranty, you know, things. But if you worry you might sit on it, drop a fork on it or something like that, your kids get a hold of it, that sort of thing. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7. And you know, just when you think, gee, things aren't progressing, especially because there were a couple of stagnant generations for the Flip, you think about the earliest generations where they just had this little tiny lozenge and that was all there was to the outer display. And now we have this instead. So clearly there are improvements here. This one certainly, in terms of performance, in terms of battery life, in terms of the enjoyableness, other than the Samsung gimping sometimes, of the outer display, they've done really well here. And this is a great phone if you are folding phone and curious, but you want to stick with that candy bar form factor. You don't want the $2,000 big folding Z Fold 7. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.